Well, so we're here with Michigan State's head coach, Jacque Joseph, who is hilarious, by the way. One of my former players wants to go to Michigan State.
Perfect.
Her dad played for Notre Dame, so it works out. They're northern people.
Okay.
Anyway, so one of the things I really liked about what you're talking about is coaches getting on the same page. So I'm a head coach. I've got a couple assistant coaches, and we're youth coaches here. But what advice would you give on how coaches should lay out their season, maybe just advice on maybe what you do or what advice you give to us?
Sure. I think it's super important to have a staff. You know, you can't do this alone. So, but for the sake of the players, it's very confusing if they have a lot of different language that's being used. So super important to have a meeting at the start of the year where whoever the head of the organization is sets the expectations for which coach is going to coach which team or what skill level, and that you create a common language throughout the organization so that as the player ages up through, the same language we use for fundamental defense, the same language we use for offense, it provides really great continuity for the kids, and it just makes a lot less confusion if you can do it, and making sure all the coaches understand what their roles are, and so they can stay in their lane and provide a real service to the club.
One thing I really like that you're talking about is how to prioritize. Like, you can't do everything, especially if you're a youth coach and you've got 10 practices before the season starts. What advice would you give on prioritizing and how you choose what you choose?
Well, I think ultimately it's a sport that's conducive to hit, run, catch, throw, right? And more games are lost than won, and more times than not, it has to do with our inability to just play catch well. So I'm a big believer, and you've got your list of things you'd like to cover, but it's better to do one thing really well than 5 things poorly. So playing catch well, throwing fundamentals, catching, receiving, and then hitting, getting the ball in play, etc. Much more important to do 3 or 4 things really well than to try to do 15 things.
Do you ever have coaches where you repeat something later on in a practice just to emphasize it, or do you just do it multiple times in a week?
Well, what I do is I ask the question. If you can get your players to repeat what they heard, it's really powerful. So you have a conversation, then you ask the group, okay, what did you just hear me say about that? Yeah. And then you'll know right away the kids that are not paying any attention, and then they'll get used to being quizzed, and then they'll pay more attention on the front end.
Very sharp. Well, Coach Joseph, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
Good luck
doing
to
this
you guys.
Appreciate it.